Hello everybody, I am the Nerdy Guy, and a few weeks ago I think it was a few weeks, I don't care, I made a video which I called All Porn is Rape, arguing with female supremacists. This is more or less a sequel to that, because it was brought to my attention that there was a lot more debates and debate going on her blog. So I started looking at other stuff on the blog and I found 15 things. I tried to cut down on them, but I just couldn't. So I have 15 links that I'm going to talk about here. And all the blogs I mention, except Justice About, I've checked with them, and all the blogs I mentioned my name. I've checked with them, they said it's okay, and I was linking to their blogs down below. Except Justice Badass, because, well, fuck her. She would say no, and then I wouldn't have a video. Who the hell agrees with a video when somebody talks against you? But, well, like I said, 15 things. And some of this is really hateful, really disturbing stuff. And I want to say, I don't hate her because she's a woman, despite what she probably thinks. I hate her because she's a female supremacist, and I would hate her if she was a male supremacist. I would hate her equally as much. We can't be supremacist to any gender at all. It just doesn't work. No. So, without further ado, let's get to the first link. The first thing I want to bring up is, have you ever heard of Donald Glover? He's the guy who plays Troy in the show Community. And he's a comedian. He's really funny. Now, there was a screenshot from his stand-up show, Weirdo. When I saw that, I thought it was about something different, but at first, but we're gonna get to that. On this screenshot, they quote, he says, Filipinos, the black girls of Asians. And it's full of comments of people going like, oh, Donald, why are you making me hate you? Oh, this is the best one. Okay, so let me get this straight. Donald Glover doesn't like black women, Donald Glover has a fetish for Asian women, but Donald Glover doesn't like Filipino women because they're black girls of Asians. And just even more, we should to point out the weird intersectionality problem involving more complex issues like internalized anti-blackness, fetishization, and toxic black male attitude toward black women that's going on here. And just even more. How can you shit on both black women and Filipino in one anti-black misogynist fetishizing swoop? He literally attacked Asian women who didn't fit into his exotic fetish for what she should be, shitting on black women. And here comes Justice Badass edition. I remember there was a mini controversy about Donald Glover a while ago, something about rape jokes. Let me see if I can find a link. Okay, here's the rape joke stuff, plus some more homophobic obelisk slurs he's a-okay using. And this is linked to an article. The entirety of this page will be linked in the description, and you will be able to find the link to actual links. I read the whole thing, it's a pretty long thing. There's not a single rape joke in that thing. I need to stop looking at myself on those pictures, I have to look into the camera. But I read this entire article. There's not a single rape joke in here. He questions why JC has a leather bag, that's it. That's the, I'm guessing that was the homophobic part. So that's bullshit. But let's go to the source of this. The Donald Glover stand-up weirdo. In his show he said, Filipinos, the black girls of Asians. Now, they didn't just take this out of context. They took it out of context and invented their own context to go with it. Here's what he actually says.
I like, you know, I've said this in my restaurant, I like to date the black girls of every culture, you know? Like Filipinos. They're like the black girls of Asians. Armenians. These are like the black girls of white girls.
Now, as you can see, he's not saying it as a bad thing. I mean, I like to date the black girls of every culture, like Filipinos, the black girls of Asians, Armenians, the black girls of white girls. Why are they claiming he says that as a bad thing? He didn't say anything bad about black women, he didn't say anything bad about Filipinos or Armenians, but they don't even mention Armenians. They're just completely bullshitting about this thing. Like I said, they invented their own context and started yelling about how he's shitting on both black women and Filipino women in one anti-black misogynist fetishizing swoop. What the fuck does that even mean? It's okay, yeah, that's bullshit. And I want to talk about what I thought this was about, that I mentioned. I thought it was something different. So, Here comes another clip from that show.
You know, I'm 27, like, I'm about to become who I'm gonna be for the rest of my life. Like, basically, like, once you hit around your 30s, that's who you're gonna be for the rest of your life, pretty much. Like, if you're conservative and you're around your 30s, you're probably gonna be conservative for the rest of your life. If you're, like, liberal and you're in your 30s, you're probably gonna be liberal for the rest of your life. You know, if you're a girl and you don't give blowjobs, curl up to your 9 cats and your Twilight DVDs because you're gonna die alone. You're gonna die alone.
Now, what it talks about in this clip, about like, if you're a woman who reaches 30 and don't like giving blowjobs, then curl up with your Twilight DVDs and 9 cats because you're gonna die alone. I thought, as much as I laughed with that joke, I just knew that feminists would complain about this. Because feminists always go like, should women be forced to give blowjobs if they don't want to? La 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 la. Well, here's the thing about oral sex. If you like to get oral sex, then you should be a decent fucking human being and give oral sex back. This goes for both genders. I mean, I would say the exact same thing. It was a female stand-up comedian saying, if you're a guy who don't like licking pussy, then you're gonna die alone. Because no matter gender, you give with oral sex, you give and receive. You don't do one of them. No matter if you're a guy or a girl, you should give and receive. Be a decent fucking human being. So if you're a girl who thinks sucking dick is gross, then you should not expect to get your pussy licked. And if you're a guy who thinks licking pussy is gross, then you should not expect to get your dick sucked. It's as simple as that. Do one, get the other. And saying that is no more misogynic than a female stand-up comedian, like I said, saying if you don't like licking pussy, then die alone. It's no more misogynic than a female stand-up comedian saying that and being misandrist. So, I defended something that nobody even attacked, because why the fuck not? Now, the next thing I want to talk about here is a blog called Illerface. When I talked to her, I found out that Illerface is actually the person who has Illerface is the same person who has the This Is Why I'm Horny porn blog I talked about in my last video. But this time, Justice Badass is, as usual, talking shit. And she is claiming, well, she had an ask saying, I don't know how you can legitimately believe that women can't enjoy penetration with a dude on their own accord. Are you telling me literally every time I've been turned on and gotten off with a man, it's because patriarchy has manipulated me into expressing myself in such a way? And she goes on with this long-ass fucking text going like, well, just like when you look at Santa, you get warm feelings because you think about Christmas. Society, oh, I just realized I might have headphones in. Society has manipulated you into think that penetration feels good. So she's saying that society is manufacturing. So women think that penetration feels good. That's just messed up. Now, Amazing Atheist goes in and goes, blink. And Justice Badass defends herself quickly, going, yeah, everyone knows it's only possible to get sexual pleasure from pouring boiling oil in your dick and sticking a banana up your ass, referring to the so-called Banana-Gate tape with Amazing Atheist. And Amazing Atheist responds to this in a pretty epic way. Hooray for sex shaming. I am proud of my perversity. You're not going to embarrass me. And this is where Otherways comes in and goes, Justice Badass, it's not our fault we have fetishes. Society has artificially constructed us to think this way. Obviously going fuck you to the original text. And she responds, do you eat the banana after you pull it out of your ass? And she goes, there are more fetishes than sticking bananas up your ass. If you actually knew anything at all, you would know that. For example, your fetish is obviously walking around with a giant stick up your ass. I had to go to Illerface blog to find this, because Justice Badass never responded to this. Most likely because she couldn't find a good answer, so... But it didn't end there, because Illerface brought this up again. But this time she wrote something different. She pointed out that she showed this to her girlfriend, who's studying to become a psychologist. And her girlfriend pointed out that there's a huge difference between physical and psychological pleasure. And while psychological pleasure can be artificially constructed easily, for example, Santa Claus, if you want to artificially construct, I keep forgetting the words I'm using, physical pleasure, then the person has to have felt the physical pleasure first to begin with. So the only way to do this would be to use a vibrator on a child while showing them a picture of a dick. And she ends with, so in other words, you can talk bullshit all you want, but that doesn't make it true. And just as bad as just uses the worst defense ever and goes like, your girlfriend's going to flunk out of school if she has that terrible reading comprehension. Way to miss my entire original point. That being, women aren't getting physical pleasure at all, but rather have been trained their whole life to mistake psychological for physical pleasure. And she points out, well, if you actually wrote what I read, that was what she talked about. You can't do that without having them first experienced physical pleasure to begin with. So the person with bad reading comprehension here is actually just as badass. So apparently, women don't like it, actually really don't like it when they have sex. They just think so because society has told them to do so. That is a big load of horsecock. I just realized this is going to be a long fucking video, but bear with me, because all this is worth hearing. It's one hateful fucking cunt I have to do there. Yes, I just called her a cunt. Ooh. Now, this next one. She was sent to ask by Omnis Psychedelia, link below to that blog. Asked, I'm not even trans dumbass, my ex-boyfriend was and he ended up committing suicide. And just this badass response, I mean... I'm gonna start off. My opinion with transsexuals, I couldn't care less what toilet you use and how you dress, whatever. I have one problem with transsexuals, and it's one kind of transsexual. The ones that upload nude pictures of themselves on the internet claiming to be women. So in websites like... I can't bring up an example, but porn sites where they split up like, well, here's the male section, that's the female section. There's a lot of transsexual men uploading pictures to the female section and thinking that's okay. I'm not a big fan of that. When I'm looking at boobs, I don't want to see your penis. However, if you're a post-op transsexual, if you swap genders, then you can upload in the female section. Then I couldn't care less. But just, if you guys still have a dick, keep it to the male section. Other than that, use whatever toilet you want to. I don't care. But no matter what opinion you have on transsexuals, you have to agree that this is not okay. This response. Just as bad as responded, to go back so people remember what I said, I'm not even trans dumbass, my ex-boyfriend was and he ended up committing suicide. Just as bad as responded, that's great, maybe you'd like to join him. So False Real Life said, you're a horrible person to say that. In fact, looking at your whole blog, you're one of the most disgusting person. You're one of the most disgusting person I've ever come across on Tumblr. Congrats. I'm gonna link below to False Real Life too. And I mean, even if somebody said, yeah, me and my ex-boyfriend were Nazi, but my boyfriend killed himself, I wouldn't go, yeah, well, have you thought about joining him? You don't do that, no matter what. That's way out of fucking line. You don't tell someone to go kill themselves because join their ex. And the reason she hates transsexuals is because, well, male to female transsexuals, according to her, being a woman is some sort of privilege that they don't have the right to experience. But if it's such a privilege, then why the fuck is she complaining about how hard it is being a woman? And I'm guessing she don't like female to male transsexuals because they're stupid enough to want to be men or something, in her opinion. I don't know. I can't even understand this fucking bitch. But I can't agree more than I do with False Real Life. She disgusts me. Especially saying this. That was the worst thing I've ever read on the internet in a long while, and that says a lot. Now, this next one we're going to see here is pretty much the aftermath of the previous debate about this is why I'm horny on porn, because she made a status writing, if you look at porn, then you're a bad person. No ifs, ands, or buts. And, well, people mocked her for it. One person uploaded a picture of two girls crying, going, how dare men and women enjoy sex? Wah! Why won't boys pay attention to me? Wah! And Swedebeast. I talked to him. He seems like a really nice guy. And also, he's Swedish like me, which is... yay! Rational Swedish people. He uploads a picture of a guy going, dude, what? Watching porn makes you into a bad person because of no reason. The reason, dipshit, is that porn is an industry built on the rape and exploitation of women, and he wrote how convenient after to ignore that men are also in porn. Now, there was a response in between here, but I think just as bad as removed it or something, because I can't find it. But he wrote, Swedebeast goes on to write that, yes, I'm sure that people like Jenna Jameson, Tara Patrick, or Proxy Page is forced into being raped in front of a camera. You're making a misguided assumption because some women are forced into having sex in front of a camera or even are raped in front of a camera that everyone is. And this is just, she keeps stating the same thing, all porn is rape, and then when people misprove her, she goes, well, I'm not saying all porn is rape. The industry, because every woman is generally being forced into having sex on camera. I don't think they're having forced. I mean, I think... I watched a lot of Sasha Grey videos in my days, and I swear, I think she really enjoys what she's doing. And Swedebeast is constantly making the same argument that she's just evading. That she's making the assumption that all porn is rape just because some women are forced raped in front of a camera, and that is a weird fucking assumption. Like, this is why I'm horny said, you can't judge a library based on one book. And it's just constantly... And here, then, in the end, she goes, oh my god, hilarious, I swear the best arguments against porn is just reading the arguments porn sick idiots make in support. And Swedebeast made the best response ever. He took the dude from the Big Lebowski, just looking at the camera, stirring a drink going, huh? I mean, these people are idiots. How can they think women are forced into... It's not like a guy walks up to a girl on the street with a gun in her head like, you're gonna be a porn star, you're gonna have exact money to have sex on a camera. I'm not gonna talk about this in a later video. Female supremacists and feminazis, radical feminists, need to stop broadening the definition of rape. That was my phone. Because if they're constantly broadening the definition of rape, then it's gonna end with people making the definition of rape smaller. They're gonna lose on it. Rape is a horrible thing. I'm not saying anything else. But they're constantly increasing what should be considered rape. So people will stop taking rapes. This will result in people stop taking rape seriously, and that's horrible. We can't let that happen. So these people need to stop doing this. But if you look at this debate, Swedebeast is constantly making rational arguments. He's making really good arguments towards her. And all she's doing is stating the same thing. All porn is rape because some women... Porn is an industry based on the rape and exploitation of women. She says that over and over again. And Swedebeast goes in like, logic, reason, arguments. And she goes, no, blah, 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 I'm right. I want to thank Swedebeast for having the patience that he seems to have with this bitch. And I hope you're looking at this video. Oh, Swedebeast! Well... This next thing I'm going to talk about is a guy wrote, somebody asked us to write our thoughts about radicalism in the feminist community. And I think my main problem with radical feminists as an ideology and a movement is generally that radical feminists focus more on fighting the patriarchy and the system than actually helping women, which is so true. I think we as a feminist can all agree that we're out here to improve women's lives. The thing is primarily focused on a theoretical construct, patriarchy, does not always help people in it, especially if you take into account the idea that oppression is subjective. At the moment, we're fighting the patriarchy does not help women and even hurts women, looking at you turfs. I think we all need to take a step back and ask women what they want and need out of us and not just make assumptions based on patriarchy. This was actually a good statement. I like the part where they spend more time fighting the patriarchy than actually helping women. Because it's true, and they think they're so much of an activist, like, yeah, I'm helping, yay! And mainly they're just making everything worse. And she goes, wow, a man opening his misogynistic mouth to spew useless bullshit about feminism. How shocking! Guess what, piece of shit? Women want you to shut the fuck up! Yeah, well, we men want you to shut the fuck up too. So how about you do that? Fourth Wave Begins, I'm linking this down below too. It's actually a pretty nice blog. She points out that we need to stop with radical feminism. We need to equal out. It's equality between everyone, not just making women more powerful. And this, I laughed so hard when I saw this. I mean, just offensive jokes. And I want to state, I checked out his blog and I laughed at a few jokes. I'm pretty sure I'm going to hell for that. Some of those were really bad. But I couldn't help laughing, so... But this one is the best one on his entire website. And is, what does a tampon and radical militant feminist have in common? They are both stuck-up cunts. And You might wonder why this is on Just As Badass blog, but she wrote, apparently this is a joke. Well, Just As Badass, if you're looking at this, yes, it was a joke and it was fucking hilarious. So I'm linking Just Offensive Jokes blog down below too. So you can look at his blog and laugh at his jokes and join me in hell. That's all I can say. Now, this is one of the things that just confused me. It was a picture of two doors, like bathroom, one female and one male, and then it says, like, there's like tape over the female door and says, under construction, please use other door. And then afterwards it's just two male pictures, instead of like the classical female picture, the pink figure with the skirts, it's the blue, like, male figure, but with a pink skirt on. And says, new and inclusive, use whichever door. Use whatever door you want. And I can understand the message. Like, we shouldn't separate the bath toilets by gender. If you're transsexual, you should use whatever toilet. I agree with that. But I can't understand what the fuck she meant when she wrote, Just Badass wrote, no, it's inclusive because anyone who wants to claim they feel a certain way can use the women's restroom. Women seeking to, you know, not be raped have no bathroom to use, of course. I don't even. I mean, this goes back to the thing I said. She acts like it's a privilege to be a woman. Like, oh well, it's a privilege, and you're not allowed to have that privilege. Anyone who feels that can claim the use of women's restroom, blah blah blah. I mean, I couldn't care less if a woman walked into the male's restroom, as long as she didn't accuse me of like flashing myself because I was using the urinal. Then fine, I'm not gonna rape her because of it. And if there's a huge line to the male bathroom, which never happens, if there is, and it's a short line to the female bathroom, then I might use the female bathroom. I'm not gonna rape women while I'm in there. She seemed to think that every man is a potential rapist. That is a dangerous mentality. This has nothing to do with this post exactly. I saw something on Tumblr a while back where it went, I think it's weird that if a person gets attacked by a dog and then spends his time being afraid of dogs, then people go like, oh, I understand, oh, it's understandable. But if a woman gets raped or abused by a man and she spends her time getting, she's afraid of men, then people go like, oh, she needs to get over it, she needs to get over it. I don't put on something, I'm gonna sound horrible saying this, but she does need to get over it. But the same thing goes with the people who get attacked by dogs. Because you can't spend your life being afraid of dogs, and you can't spend your lives being afraid of men. I understand that it's hard, but it's something you need to work on. For example, this is not nearly as bad, but I used to have huge stage fright. I mean, just being in a large crowd would make me dizzy. I had really heavy social anxiety, but I worked on it. I got better on it. Alcohol helped, but it got better. I worked on it, because I knew I couldn't live my life being afraid of big amounts of people, big crowds. So I worked on it and I got better. It was hard, but I did it. It's harder to get over being raped by a man, but it's something you still need to do. And if you were attacked by a dog, you need to get over being attacked by a dog, because so many dogs are different. That was a bit off topic, but I still felt like it needed to be said. This one is another one that confuses me. It says, I hate that guys think that every girl is an insecure wreck that feels bad about her... My cell phone goes off again. Feels bad about herself and stuff, so they're like, you're beautiful on... So they are like, you're beautiful on signs and say shit like every girl deserves to be called a princess. We're not a fucking charity that needs to be pitted all the time. And Just About It goes, especially considering that most of the time that insecurity stems mostly from guys. So we are bad people for trying to fix it. Because logic. This is just confusing. I mean, apparently we are bad people for telling girls they're beautiful. And what about the girls who say they want to be treated like a princess? Do they hate women too? I mean, like I said earlier, I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense to me. I mean, just because you tell a girl she's beautiful doesn't mean you think she's an insecure wreck. Maybe you just think she's beautiful. How about that? This makes no sense. And here we come back to what we said earlier in the video about an atheist, and he goes on to point out that he's not ashamed of being into bondage. Because somebody wrote, if you're into BDSM, then I want nothing to do with you, sorry. Sorry, not sorry. And somebody goes, oh, well, just look at all this fine kink shaming. Fine kink shaming. And Justice Badass goes, kink shaming? No more like that. Doesn't want to be around rapists and abusers and people who get off on rape and abuse. You need to look into what the fuck bondage is, because bondage does not equal rape. Personally, bondage is not something I like to look at, so I don't look at bondage porn on the internet. If you're into bondage, I'm not gonna hate you for it. I still watch Amazing Atheist videos. As long as he doesn't start making bondage videos on his YouTube channel, then I'm fine with him being into bondage, because I couldn't care less. But it's a bit hypocritical. I mean, we live in a society where, well, mostly, it's really important now that we have to be... I forgot the word. We have to take into account, like, be nice to homosexual people. We can't mock someone for being homosexual, stuff like that. And of course, that's great. I mean, we shouldn't mock somebody for being homosexual. But we shouldn't mock somebody for having a fetish either. The two are not so different. And this next one is just insane. This is a gif with a woman, I think she's a teacher, and she says, I reckon about 50% of male teachers at schools are pedophiles. I'm also fairly certain they misspelled pedophile, but that's not the important part. The important part is that fucking misandry. They're claiming misandry doesn't exist. A lot of feminists do this. It obviously fucking exists. It exists right there. This goes back to what Take Shot Action mentioned in his video of the flaws of feminism. Just for help, I'm going to link the entire that video below too. And he points out that if a man approaches a group of kids, a strange man, then he's going to get accused of being a pedophile. We have some weird mentality in our society that women are safe around children, but a strange man around children, no, he's a pedophile. 50% of male teachers at schools are pedophiles. Or maybe they're people who like to teach. I mean, I've had male teachers. The teacher I rank as my second best teacher was a guy. He was not a pedophile. He was an awesome teacher, on the other hand. Unlike the other teachers, he was fun. I mean, we learned something and we laughed during his class because he was a great teacher. So, if you're watching this, Torbjörn, as his name was, you are the second best teacher I have. Don't feel bad about it. The best one was close to unbeatable, but you're second best. That's something. I've had a lot of teachers. You probably recognize me because, well, I look the same. I'm just longer. But accusing 50% of male teachers of being pedophiles. My fucking stepdad is a teacher. I just realized. He's a teacher. This is man-hate at its finest. Now for this next one, it's time for more fine kink shaming. Yay! Just as Badass wrote, even if we accept that BDSM isn't 100% healthy for the women involved, it still hurts the other women who aren't consenting and therefore still free game for criticism. I can't understand it. Quit being so fucking selfish and realize that your orgasms aren't the most important thing in the world. And a Tumblr user, he didn't want me to mention his name, so I'm not gonna do it. This is actually a pretty reasonable remark. Follow-up question, do you think that if done in private, images and video of BDSM not shared online in print, in a way that the bondage is exposed to no one but the participating parties, would that keep other non-participating women safe from the harm it causes? Her response is, I mean, maybe in some absolutely perfect scenario, but in 99.999999999% of the time, the misogyny that BDSM runs on will, you write with big letters, seep out of the bedroom and negatively affect other women. First of all, does she have any idea what a dominatrix is? I think her idea of bondage and BDSM is just men hitting women. You know, it works the other way around. There's also a lot of guys who gets turned on by getting their ass handed to them by women. So the so-called dominatrixes. That's what they. There's actually a accepted line of work, a dominatrix. You can work as that. But this bullshit that they will seep out of the bedroom. So what? You think you're just gonna? If a couple likes bondage, you're just gonna kidnap a random woman on the street and just kick her ass too? And that happens in 99.9999999% of the time. Yeah, right. I don't think she understands how many people in this world like bondage. Now this last one I want to talk about, and this video is already like half an hour long, is a guy uploaded a thing and wrote, "Gender and genitals are not the same thing. Not all lesbian couples involve 2 vaginas, not all gay couples involve 2 penises, not all heterosexual couples have a penis and a vagina. Trans people exist. If you insist that vaginas are synonymous with females and penises are synonymous with maleness, you are a cis-sexist and probably transphobic, sorry to inform you." She responds to this with, "Lesbophobic piece of shit," and then she writes vomit with into like the stars or asterisks or whatever they're called. He's not being lesbophobic. She is being transphobic. And it's just her way of lesbophobic piece of shit. This goes back to the thing I put to her. She acts like being a woman is some sort of privilege. I mean, I'm not sitting here looking at transsexual women going like, "You don't have any right to be a man. Go back to being a woman." He's not even saying anything bad about lesbians. He's not lesbophobic. She is a fucking bullshitter. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure why I'm making this video. But I need to show people that... I'm just getting pissed off reading these things, but I need to show people that people like Justice Badass exists in this world, and they are dangerous to this world. I mean, freedom of expression, yes, she has the right to state her opinions. But when you're making claims without evidence, like, there was a bunch of things on her blog where it was like statistics, like, all of these crimes are committed by men, and this big percentage of crimes committed by men. There's no sources to back up that statistic. She's just spouting bullshit. Opinions is one thing, but when you're lying and making false claims and false accusations, that is not freedom of expression. Or freedom of opinion, or any kind of freedom. That's bullshit, and that's dangerous when you sit there and believe all of that shit. And one thing, I mean, on her blog I also found like pictures of fashion magazines. We complain about like, I didn't save any of these things, I should have done it, but we complain like, "Oh, look how women are portrayed in these magazines." Who are buying those fucking magazines, I don't see a man running up like, "Ooh, I wonder what Jennifer Lawrence was wearing on the Oscars." Those magazines are advertised towards women. When I started to become a journalist and then decided I didn't want to become a journalist, but I learned how marketing works. That was part of the program I studied. And when you understand how marketing works, you understand how ridiculous it is to be upset over how women are portrayed in ads. How toys are marketed to a certain gender. You understand how ridiculous that is. Because ads work like this. If they sell because of those ads, then they're going to keep on having those ads. If those magazines sell when they portray women this way, then they're going to keep on doing it. You want to make a stand? Stop buying the fucking magazines. That's how marketing works. Show them that you don't care for that kind of marketing. Stop buying it, and they will stop doing it. But if you just sit on your ass and bitch and complain like, "Oh, look at women are portrayed. Oh, she's showing so much skin." Nothing's gonna happen except you're sitting there like an impotent fucking jerk. Impotent is probably a bad insult towards a woman, but still. Okay, I'm gonna use, "You're sitting like a dried up cunt." Those magazines are marketed toward women, and women buy them, so the marketing works. That's all I have to say. People like Justice Badass need to shut the fuck up. They need to find sources to back their bullshit up. They don't have any. They just sit there, spew bullshit towards the entire internet, accuse men for everything that bad has happened, and I'm sick of it. Yes, I'm aware that women has been oppressed for several centuries. However, I am 19 years old. I can't be forced to take account for what happened several years ago before I was even born. I'm aware that women wasn't even allowed to have jobs until like around World War I. I wasn't alive back then. I mean, that was like what, 70 years before I was born? My grandmother wasn't even born back then. My grandfather wasn't even born back then. My grandfather wasn't even a wet patch in my great-grandfather's underwear. He was nothing. That's how long time ago. You can't force men to take account for that. And you stop acting like a victim because of it, because you were not alive to feel that criticism, that oppression. I understand women are still oppressed today, but so are men. You have to accept that, or you're just a fucking cunt. Now, I am the Nerdy Guy. You just watched a Nerdy Guy rant. Leave a comment. I messed up my outro. Leave a comment, rate this video, subscribe if you like my random ass rant videos. There's a new video every Monday and Friday. And I am the Nerdy Guy, and you just watched a Nerdy Guy rant. Seriously, you have nothing better to do. Anyway, goodbye.